So last week we were looking at what God created besides us, and this week we're looking at how can we glorify God, because that's why we were made. I don't know what theme to do. Obedience has a lot to do with loving. Deuteronomy 11 verse 1 says, "You shall love the Lord your God and keep his charges, his statutes, rules and commandments always." Notice the order of things? First comes the love, second comes the obedience. If we want the best example of how to love God, we need to jump to the other end of our Bibles and look at how Jesus lived. Jesus loved God perfectly, and when he was teaching, he often focused on the aspect of our hearts behind the actions themselves. When teaching about anger, Jesus said, "You have heard it said, anyone who murders will be judged. But I say, anyone who is angry with someone will also be judged." And later on, Jesus taught, "If you love me, you will obey my commands." So again, we see this funny connection between love and obedience, or obedience out of love. Consider the bees. These little creatures work so hard not just for us, but for all of God's creation. They work so hard to make sure that all of God's fruits, vegetables and flowers are kept alive. And they do this in perfect order and obedience to the queen of their hive, but also to God. And after all this is done, they create lots of good and useful products like honey and beeswax.
Question 6. How can we glorify God? By loving him and by obeying his commands and law.